Hey everybody, welcome back to Old World Legends, where we focus on growing the community. I'm your host, Mike, and as always with me is Evan.
Yeah, I'm here.
Oh, so excited this week. So, in this video, we're really excited to walk you through our first Old World Legends online tournament. This is the first
Hmm.
time we've done this, and we're going to talk you through the winners. Spoilers, Bretonnians won, but we're going to dive into the list and we're going to walk you through it. We're really excited. So, this is something we were talking about last year. We saw some other events and organizers doing this. And we're like, wow, we are so excited and so impressed with what they were doing. Right, different people had different ways in how they were organizing this. So this is kind of like a test for us to see, hey, if we ran one, and again, we were using Warhall amongst other things, but if we brought, our player packet, our FAQ, the more terrain on the table, our fun scenarios, right, the stuff that we're known for with our community, would
Hmm.
that be something people would like to dive into? And so we posted a sign up out there, and we're like, okay, maybe we'll get 10, 20 players. We'll see how this goes. And holy crap, Evan, we ended up with 43 players signing up. Not only did we have 43 players signing up, a lot of them were new friends who are not local to our scene. Not only they're not local, we had people sign up from across the United States, for not just Orange County or Southern California. We had people across the state over to the East Coast, to Florida.
Mm.
We had people up in Canada participate. We even had people out of country sign up because they were just so excited. And suddenly we had some of the best Warhammer players in the world who actively play online
Yeah.
competing in this event. It was crazy. It was exciting, and it was so much fun to have them. And I think it was a big success. We got lots of great feedback, and I'm hoping we'll be able to do it again in the future. But Evan, you didn't get to play this time. You were too busy, right?
Yeah, so I do this thing where I have 8 physical armies that need to be built, painted, in some cases printed. I was doing a lot of 3D printing for bases because I wanted to have textured bases for
Oh
my
yeah,
ogres for the GT.
they look great.
So I play about two games a week in person. So I don't
Mm-hmm.
have a lot of time to play
It's a
online.
lot of time. Yeah, and let me tell you, not only time. Oh boy, on my side, and with yourself and Nick helping us as always with our owl event team, it was way more effort than I thought it was going to be. But I am
Hmm.
glad we did it. We learned so much. It was great to grow the community, to expand, and get all these amazing players together. We only had a couple small challenges we had to work through, and a lot of it was really just, quite frankly, improving our FAQ, right, in terms of a lot of different edge cases and things we hadn't run into in our in-person events before. I will say that I absolutely love the online tournament scene. It's awesome. It's exciting. I think it's going to grow in the future. It doesn't really replace in person for me, or I think most of our players, right? There's just nothing that beats the actual models on our amazing tables with the terrain and such, and a room full of your friends all weekend having a great time at an event. But it's great that we don't have to pick and choose, right? That we can do both. So I think this will be something that a staple of the future. We've got our survey back and a lot of good
Yeah.
info. But we could talk all day about the event itself, but let's talk about the winners. So let's dive into first place, Evan. Take us through that.
All right, so first place we have Shane, who also goes by Auce in the online Discord community place. And so he's running Bretonnian Exiles, and there's some interesting changes from what you might have seen before here. So we still have a Green
Yeah.
Knight. The fact that the Green Knight coming back to life, at least currently in our pack, doesn't reward you any points if you've killed him and he comes back. And in fact, I believe in the sixth game, which was the video we posted last week, where we had
Yep.
the 3 hour battle report. I think the Green Knight came back on the last turn on like a 5 or a 6 plus, and then just that
Yeah.
was a 275 point swing because if he doesn't come on, he gives you points, and if he comes on, he gives you no points, and he just
Huge
came on,
swing. Huge
came back
swing.
on.
That could have literally been the difference maker in that game, because that game was so close, and it really did make a big difference in those points. So we did play at this event raw, and raw, if he's alive at the end of the game, you don't get points for him. That is something we will certainly look into the future and ask the community, because right, it's not about what we want out of the game, it's what does the community want to see out of the game. So our surveys are very important in terms of growing and
Yeah,
adapting our comp or meta or player packet to what do players want to play, to make sure everybody has more fun. But that certainly doesn't take anything away from Shane and his exceptional
absolutely,
victory. He
absolutely.
not only won this game, he had to fight through 6 games
Yeah,
with some of the best Warhammer players in the old world that
yeah,
I've ever seen. And congratulations, Shane. It is one hell of a
yeah.
victory, and well earned, sir.
And the online play is going to be the place for the most competitive, the most, essentially trying to get the rules right, trying to measure our wheels exactly accurately, and getting
Hmm.
what should be the best. And you can see it as a good way to beta test or to proof the rules to see, are there any problems, is there anything out there that might be too good, and you can see that the online place gets to skip the part where you have to make all these models, put them on the table, and find someone to play with, and just go straight into the part where we see what happens when you play the rules the way that they're written, and see if anything goes
Yeah,
wrong, right?
way
So we
faster.
yeah. So we also have a Baron. So we've got the Royal Pegasus. You've got the Virtue of the Knightly Temper, which is just an amazing damage bonus. So you go from those 4 attacks to, oh, oops, now I have 8 attacks sometimes, right? And then the Frontier Axe, which is just an insanely cost-effective weapon. I mean, that's just, multi wounds too, right? I mean, that's just great. So it's an Ogre Blade that
Yeah.
still has some AP. I think if or a Giant Blade that still has some AP. The base book, if the Giant Blade had AP instead of Armbane, it would be just as common.
We'd see it a lot more. That's right. And I think
Yeah.
that's the big thing is you see a lot of magic weapons out there and they're really, really good. And then you look at the AP and it doesn't have AP. And if you, again, there are too many things out there that have armor. There's still 2 ups and 3 ups and even 4 ups. And you need to have some AP for those magic weapons to really see them on the battlefield. And
Yeah, well,
this
when
is
the
a great,
dragons you
great
fight have a
addition.
2+ armor save, you better have
Yeah. Better
AP2
bring some
minimum,
AP to the table. Yeah.
right?
Hmm.
Um, yeah, we will definitely discuss armor and AP in a while, because I think that AP is actually the key that keeps infantry and units that people think aren't very good down, and makes units that are multi wounds with triple save, you know, the forefront, because AP means I take away any defense you had and you can just die now, right? So
But we'll do a future episode on that.
yeah, for sure. So, and it's also worthwhile to know, just like I was talking about with the Green Knight and the points. If someone was going to say, okay, the Green Knight was going to give up half their points if they die and he comes back or whatever, then people like Shane might change their army list, or they might change the way they're playing the army list
Hmm.
based on those rules. So people will play it the way that it was written, or the way that we have ruled it for the tournament, and that will then control how the games end up going. Yeah, so we also have a Paladin. So very surprising here, we don't have the 2 Barons. That's
Yeah.
interesting, right? So, but we do have the Paladin and a Battle Standard Bearer on a Warhorse. So I think that he's probably going into the unit of the Knights of the Realm then.
Yeah,
Interesting.
definitely saving points and using those points somewhere else. But he does have the Falcon Horn.
Yes, and that gives you a guy who has Veteran and Falconhorn. And look, if he's not in combat, he can just keep blowing this, right? And re-rolling it.
And
And
that's what I think what's happening.
Morningstar.
You see a lot of these players, right? They're going to sit out of combat and they're just going to keep using the horn if the opposing enemy has flying units because it's very, very reliable in shutting down flying from the opposing faction. Some factions aren't bringing flyers to the table, and some people adapting to the meta will just choose not to bring the flyers because they know they will run into this. It definitely is meta shaping this item because it is so effective.
Yeah, and you can see the Charmed Shields on here because they won't have their prayer until they run down an enemy unit. So these Charmed Shields are kind of like an early game protection, I believe. That's kind of the idea. So that's why you're seeing them there. Okay, so then for core, we've got Knights of the Realm, 6 Knights of the Realm. Okay, so that's probably a unit that the BSB can join. Be a nice little medium-sized threat. Move around the battlefield and kind of provide that reroll bonus. Then we've got
Hmm.
the 2 units of Peasant Bowmen who get to just be skirmishers for free because why not? That's very efficient as just cost-effective shooting, skirmishers that can just be in people's way, or if you want to go run them down, they're barely any points, right?
Yeah, and we talked
That's
about this
just
before. Having at least
yeah.
one skirmish unit in your army is great. Having 2 is even better. And again, these are fantastic utility pieces, very cost effective. No, they don't kill a lot of things. They could, nick a wound or 2 off of this or that there, but in terms of getting in the way, slowing things down, board control, just board presence, being in that spot, taking up the space is very effective for their points.
Okay, and then this is another interesting thing that I think for a while people were loving and then kind of disappeared from the meta was the Yeoman Guards. We've got 33
Hmm.
Yeoman Guard, and we have Thrusting Spear, so not the polearm then. The
Nope.
polearm is just you get to pick whether you're a spear or a halberd whenever you want to, and that's great. But it is 1 point
Hmm.
per guy, and I guess if you'd rather just have a couple more people, or for example the Blessed Triptych on your Grail Monk, then I guess that's maybe perhaps more important. And then you got a
Hmm.
unit that's got Horde. It's got 3 ranks, close order, and then a banner and a BS and a war banner. So
Yeah.
that's what 6 combat resolution right there.
Yeah, definitely a unit that wants to ideally take a punch and not flee. and again hold things up, right? This is what you would, it's not the best anvil unit in the game, but it is still an effective anvil unit, and he's built it that way. If it can
Yeah.
absorb something and hold its ground and make the opponent give ground once or twice, or more importantly just not flee, then that's going to give him crucial times or setups for his combos of his other stronger units.
Right. Um, So we've got special. Now, here's another thing that's a bit abnormal. He has the Pegasus Knights, instead of units of
Mm-hmm.
4 and 3 that are separate, he has all seven
Mm-hmm.
in one unit. And then we have
He
Banner of the
does.
Zealous Knight, which that's the one that lets them vanguard. So we have a vanguarding Pegasus Knight unit with only one Baron in there, instead of sometimes there's
Mm-hmm.
two Barons in there. And it's a unit of 7. So he's putting a lot of power in a single unit. I think that this is part of a meta shift where more people are concentrating their forces in larger units, if
Mm-hmm.
not putting them in units that are so cheap, who cares if they die, right? So similar to
Yep.
how recently we were talking about a dwarf Death Star list, or taking units of 7 Dragon Ogres with a character that gets to join them too. Now we've got Pegasus Knights, and you take 7 of them.
Yep.
Basically, my Death Star beats your Death Star.
I think we're going to see more and more of that as, again, the meta is always shifting, and it is certainly seeming to go away from that MSU list. But what
Mm-hmm.
happens is we start seeing the shift towards the bigger Death Star list, but then all of a sudden you start getting, well, Death Star doesn't want to fight Death Star because the whole game could be won or lost based upon one Death Star just rolling slightly better than the other Death Star, right? And so then it starts to become, hey, the Death Stars dance around each other, avoid each other, then they start going after the remaining smaller units to, again, you only need 100 points to win, right? So it's always a shifting balance.
Mm-hmm.
Which is exciting. The game is always staying fresh as players are trying to plan ahead and think about, okay, it's not just what am I going to bring that's going to be effective, but what do I think is I'm going to fight at this event, right? What are the other players are going to bring to the table, and what can I bring to be a counter to that, right? That's part of that guessing game and being on the top of things and understanding how the meta is constantly in flux.
So then we have 2 incredibly cost-effective bombards. They can blow themselves up, so you don't have an engineer that helps you re-roll it, but just 100
Yep.
points where you have the strength. I don't know whether it's 8 or 10, but who cares, right? And then you got the D3 plus 1 wounds. That's the important part. And then the
Mm-hmm.
misfire chart's better than a lot of the other misfire charts, because a lot of the time if you misfire, it still actually shoots something, which sometimes that's your last shot before you're about to get charged. So rather that than not fire at all, right? So the
Yep, for
bombards are
sure.
just very effective.
Yeah, so
It's
this is
great.
a very efficient list, very well crafted. Clearly, he's been playing this for a while and has refined this. Right, it's an Exiles list. Does it get the veteran role with this list? Is that
Yeah,
what
veteran
you're
and
basing this
stubborn
on?
on any knight who with the any knight with the exile vow, which is all of them.
Yeah. So the veteran is really, in my opinion, the bigger of the two. Both are good, but being able to reroll those leadership tests is huge. In particular, it can counter other lists very effectively because, again, there are other lists in the past, such as Vampire Counts with the Wailing Lurge, the Scream list, that would be very effective versus
Mm-hmm.
Bretonnia before those high AP and Pegasus Knights. But being able to reroll those leadership tests is a hard
Yeah.
counter to shutting some of those things down. So on top of that, also one of the things, usually Bretonnia lists are very melee focused, right? And suddenly with this Arcane Journal list, this Exiles list, he's able to bring sub cannons as well. They're not going to necessarily win him the game, but they absolutely manipulate how the opponent will deploy their units on the battlefield to make sure that the cannons are not going into something like they're big monsters or units or critical things. So
Yeah.
it's a great list, very
And
effective.
there's a lot of medium units in the game that cannot deal with 2 cannons to the face. You put your gigantic chaos spawn in, unless it's Nurgle, it's not going to have any armor saves. You just put 2 cannonballs into it, and on average, you just kill the gigantic chaos spawn, and that's just 1 round of
Mm-hmm.
shooting. Next round, you should kill
Yeah,
the other one. Now, if they have Nurgle, they've got a chance to pass them, but he can still
a
roll 4
chance.
wounds with one of the
Yeah,
cannons, right?
cannons are still a real threat. They
Yeah,
absolutely are, and they need to not be ignored.
yeah,
And I think that's the big thing about this. He has that extreme mobility with that Pegasus Knight unit and its 360 charge to be able to go where it needs to on the battlefield. And those cannons can threaten the enemy, put pressure on from long range, right? So we can
yeah.
start, slowly ticking up those points if the opposing army doesn't have a range or a counter to that and such. And it's just a very well crafted list.
And this is what a balanced, well-rounded army looks like. There's a little bit of cavalry. There's only one melee character joining it. It's not like 2 triple peg knights running around. We've got some artillery, some archers. This is what a well-rounded but efficient competitive army looks like. It's not
Hmm.
a skew
Yeah.
list.
And again, well done to Shane. Great job.
Yeah.
Except congratulations, sir, for first place. But let's move on to our next list. Let's go on to second place. Who got that?
So Andrew Bowie, I'm hoping I'm saying that correctly. Won with basically second place with Warriors Chaos here. Um, Funny, this looks a little bit similar to the Words of Chaos that Alex played at the latest GT. We've got,
But there are
uh,
definitely some
yeah.
differences.
Yes, we've got Chaos. So mostly in the core, we'll get to that. So we got Chaos Lord,
Hmm.
Mark and Ogre Blade, two Favor the Gods. That's for re-rolling that stupidity when you do roll it. Brazen Collar for MR2. So anyone wants to try to Mice Mirage you? Nope. Now you got to roll a 13. Good luck with that. Enchanted Aura, because why let anyone hit you ever? Just be like, no, you strike last. You don't get to hit me. And then Chaos Dragon, because yeah, it's great.
Because they're awesome. There you go.
And then we've got Sorcerer Lord and your Battle Magic. You got Armored Meteoric Iron. So now you get your Chaos Armor ward save and your Meteoric Iron against basically everything. So you have a 5 out 5 on everything. And you have 5 spells and 87% chance you get Fireball and Blue Fire. So you got 2 magic missiles. Yeah.
Good chance.
Yeah. And
He
then,
also has the Luck Stone, though.
Luckstone. That's different. Yeah.
Yep.
So that's
There's
a
some
reroll
definitely
on
some
one of his armor
differences here.
saves.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, he's on a Demonic Mount. That's different. That's
Speaks
not
about
like
the
Alex's
same.
list. Yeah. He's got Demonic Mount.
Mm-hmm.
Huh. Which I guess, I mean, you can still join Marauder Horseman with a Demonic Mount, so I guess why not, right? So,
I think you can. It's not lumbering, is it?
yeah, because it's like if you're on a Demigryph, and they're in close order, so you can still join them with the Demonic Mount. And the Demonic Mount's just a couple extra points to get a couple more attacks and another wound, I think. So why not?
Well, he does have the horsemen, so I am assuming, and they're both Zinch. Yep, so that is likely where he's putting them. Yep,
Yeah.
that makes sense.
And then if you do run around solo, why not have an extra wound and a couple more attacks, right?
Yeah, it is definitely more durable. So if you have the points, it definitely makes sense.
If I could put my Empire Wizard on a Demigryph, I think I probably would.
Can you put him on a Pegasus?
Yeah, but this is more similar to a Demigryph, I think.
Yes,
Maybe it's somewhere in
for
the
sure.
middle. All right, so
Yep.
we've got in core we've got 2 units of Chaos Knights. So Mark of Zinch, that's interesting. So I guess what we're saying here is we have a wizard who actually has 3 different options for who he can join because we've got Zinch on the Knights and
Mm-hmm.
Zinch on the Marauders.
Yep, or perhaps jump between them relative to
Yeah,
if one unit takes the pounding from a cannon or something, he can jump to the next unit.
yeah, or he pushes them all up, and then you move your like for example, let's say you're playing dwarves and you run that 28 longbirds right in front of the wizard bunker. Well, he leaves
Mm-hmm.
the unit that is now stuck and can't get out of there. He leaves that unit and
Yep.
joins one of the other backup options and says, "Okay, you just have 4
And
chaos knights. That's all you're gonna get."
yep. So he speed bumps, and now he's just as effective as the next thing.
Right, and
And
all
he's
of these are
definitely
pretty
making
cheap.
them pretty low. Yeah,
Right,
low
look at
cost.
how much they
Yep.
cost. So if a single unit fails a break check and you run it down, not that many points, right? So if
No,
if
not
these
that
are
many.
So I think we've seen a big swing towards either very cheap but still effective units, or just one unit that's so big and powerful you're never going to get it. That's kind of the
Yeah,
idea.
and I think the biggest difference with the Chaos Knights versus other things for core is, yeah, they're not as good as Chosen Knights certainly, but they're a lot more cost effective. And again, with lances, they still hit very hard, so they are, they're punching. Their defenses are really hovering in their speed at that medium range, but they're hitting at a heavy cavalry impact. It's only one attack, right? Because they're not Khorne, they're Tzeentch,
No,
so
but
they
you don't
can,
do it. Don't take corn. That's a bad idea.
yeah, don't do that. So, but again, if they're facing down other things, Marauders on the other side, Chaos Hounds, anything in that small bracket range or flank attacks, they will be effective at those things. And if they just die because there's only 5 of them, well, you didn't spend that many points. So, I think it's actually a very great choice for core units, and I encourage more Wars of Chaos players to explore working with 5-man units. I think they have lots of potential.
And then 4 and splits of 4 are ideal for both panic avoidance, having to take fewer panic tests because you have to lose 2 of them, right? And they're also ideal for avoiding having to give up as many points because now you have to kill 3. Actually, you have to kill all of them to get any points because if you kill 3 of them, that's not over 75%. They're
Oh,
not
that's
under
interesting.
25.
I didn't
Right?
notice that he didn't take 5. He only took
Right. So
4.
if you take 4 and I shoot 3 of them to death, you get no points, 0 points until the
Mm-hmm.
4th guy dies.
Yeah, that's very clever. Very cool.
So then we have the 2 Dragoners. I mean, this is just a pretty effective way to do it. Now I think he doesn't have enough points to buy, like the blackened plate on the Shard Tech or anything. But this is just a very effective unit at just chopping these up, especially if it goes in with the Chaos Knights, for example. Those
Hmm.
combined go into somebody, and that's
Yeah,
a
combined.
decent amount of damage.
Very flexible. I think he saved some of his points for rare.
Yeah, and when you have monstrous cavalry that's 50 millimeters wide, if you take a unit of 4, you're swinging a freaking boat around because that's the same as like
Yeah,
8 wide infantry, right? It's hard to maneuver. So a unit of 2, it can
much
be,
easier.
especially positioning, pretty good. And then we have what I think is very, very strong is the combination of the Warpfire Dragon with that Chaos Lord because the Warpfire Dragon is a dragon, but it
Hmm.
is also able to turn off other people's ward saves. So you
Yeah.
send in your Chaos Lord on Dragon, and then you just park the Warpfire Dragon next to the enemy, outside of your Chaos Lord's range, but within the range of the enemy, and now they get no ward save, but you do.
Right, because it doesn't need to be in combat for that special ability, right?
Nope.
It's just a radius.
Yeah, it's a 3-inch radius, but you just when you can move 20 inches, 3-inch radius isn't that big of a deal because you just.
Yeah, it's fantastic. Plus, he
In
still
fact, it's
has his doesn't he have the missile weapon, right?
yeah. So
The
he
nuclear
can
loader.
breathe fire with a bit of a better breath weapon than most people because it's like a stone thrower bread, So you
Yeah.
can shoot it from further away.
Yeah, so it's a great combo. And again, if you just need another dragon because you just need to 1-2 punch something, or threaten the flank on something, it's also very effective. So
Yeah.
yeah, it's definitely a very skewed list towards that those big heavy hitters dominating the battlefield, and again trying to control with the smaller stuff, and again not giving up too many points. So yeah, great list, and he played it very well. And
Hmm.
congratulations again, coming in second. That was not easy to do that, sir. It's fantastic.
Yeah, I will
So
say
we look
that
at
I
the
don't like this
ultimate.
Chaos Army versus the Dwarf Mountain Holds because
Hmm.
Royal Clan because there's no champions to eat the challenge. This Chaos
It's
Lord,
true.
even if you take the ward save away from the king, he still wins. So,
I don't think we saw that list in the online tournament, but
oh,
perhaps
okay,
we might see it in the future.
yeah. And I was also going to say the Warfare Dragon having only a 3-inch range on its word save thing is actually a
Hmm.
buff because if it was 12, it would be way harder to keep your own models out of its range. But because it's only
It's true.
3, it's way easier to just end your movement
Control it.
and only be affecting the enemy. That's it.
Cool. All right, let's move on to the third place.
All right, third place is Adam Slutsky. He's got Wars Chaos, Wolves of the Sea. Wolves of the Sea.
Love
That's
it.
great. Yeah. Wolves of the
Fantastic.
Sea, we see a lot of really exciting and interesting core unit choices with those berserkers and such. But the big sacrifice you have to make is you don't get to have Demon Prince, Lord on Dragon, and a Sorcerer Lord. So you only get one of those three. So you have for example, he takes the Demon Prince here because if he takes the Lord on the Dragon, he has no level 4 Wizard, right? So then oftentimes what we see with Wolves of the Sea is they either take a Demon Prince or the Sorcerer Lord and not the
Hmm.
Chaos Lord and
Hmm.
Dragon. All right, so we have the
Yep,
Demon
makes
Prince.
sense.
He's got the Fly, okay, and he's Mark and Nurgle. So for some defense there, Demonology, so you can buff up his own spell, basically his own damage, or take the Magic
Hmm.
Missile, right? And then he's got Ogre Blade, so because he's already got Chaos Armor and a Regen save, right, and armor. So he's got armor, ward
He has the
regen.
four up ward save by with the demon prince out of the gate.
Oh, is regen the Demons of Chaos one gets a regen?
Yeah, you're thinking demons of chaos. Yeah,
Okay,
the
so you have
demon
to
prince himself has
take.
the good armor, and then he has the 4 up built-in ward save, which is
So what's
fantastic.
interesting then? So he's got meteoric iron. I would love to see people buy that armor that gives you +1 toughness, on specifically on the Demon Prince. That'd be pretty cool. But I think you don't have space with the Ogre Blade. And then
The ogre
he's
blade's really pricey.
yeah. So then he's got meteoric iron, favors of the gods, and then he buys himself the extra arm. So he's actually just a really fighty Demon Prince, which is actually really risky to run because you
Hmm.
don't have very many wounds and you're unstable. So you can just boop, you popped.
Yeah,
Um,
but he does fly and he's skirmishing.
yeah.
So keep that in mind. But as a lone character by himself, going 360 with fly, he can, in the hands of a skilled general, put them where he needs to be, and he can control where he's going to go. So again, there are counters to him, just as there are to everything in this game. But he can do a lot at the right place at the right time, and with a skilled general, you certainly could do that.
Right, and we don't have one thing we don't get to have is we don't have a spell familiar. So he has the 4 spells, but that's
Hmm.
okay.
Yep.
All right, and then we have 2 Exalted Sorcerers. One of them is Mark of the Ancient Chaos Barding, so then you get to have +3 to cast. That's pretty good. And then Battle
Hmm.
Magic Infernal Puppets. You get to have a guy to carry an Infernal Puppet around. The fact that the Infernal Puppet only costs 50 points and not 55 is something that makes this possible, of course, right? And it makes it strong.
Hmm.
That
Hmm.
you don't necessarily need to put it on your level 4. And then we have another Exalted Sorcerer with Demonic Mount. You could put the level 2s on Demonic Mounts? Wow, okay. And another Mark of Zinch.
Hmm.
Great. So we just have more battle magic guys, more fireballs, more blue flames of Zinch, another ruby ring. So we just have magic missile extravaganza there. And then in core we've got Marauder Cavalry. These are buses for your Exalted Sorcerers. So we've got Marauder Cavalry with Zinch, Marauder Cavalry with Zinch, and then we just have let's just ambush you with a bunch of flail guys with frenzy. That's what these berserkers are. And when they're only 70 points, you can just afford to just not have some of them show up. It's fine because you have 4 units, and some of them are going to show up at some point, right? That's what I'm thinking.
Yeah, so
Why
looking
are
up the Demon Prince, he does have not just only the ward save, he has the regen save as well.
Oh, so he does have all 3. So he has
Yep.
always, and he gets to always take the armor. So he
Yep.
gets
So
to
he's going to have
roll.
that 5 up always. Then he's going to get his 4 up ward. Then he's going to get his 5 up regen. That's very defensible
The
character.
regen goes away versus magical attacks because of warp spawned.
That's a demon thing. Demon.
No,
He
he's
is
still warp spawned.
that.
He's still warp spawned.
I
The
don't
demon
think.
prince of
Let me.
Wars of Chaos is.
I know he's warp spawned. I don't know that that's a warp spawn rule.
Okay.
Keep going. I'll
Well,
look it up.
at any rate, basically, this guy is essentially a Baron on Royal Pegasus without the knights to go with him, because he's just scary with how many attacks he gets to make. And he's also a wizard, but he kind of has to run around by himself. So it's similar to that type of build. And when you add that into all these guys who ambush with flails, if you're trying to run to the edge of the table or the edge of the board to kind of hide, these guys come up behind you, and that is a big problem.
Mm-hmm.
And you can always just not ambush. If someone's running at you in open, you just not... Oh, he only bought ambushers on 2 of them. So 2 of them always... Oh, 2 of them have champions and 2 of them are ambushed. That's interesting. Okay, and then we have 5 Wars Kiss. So these guys are the guys who are only here because of that challenge mechanics. We've got 5, the minimum size squad. We've got a Mark of Corn, Halberd, Champion, Charm Shield. So we just have this one guy who tries to win the challenge and get that first turn by killing your champion, right? That's what he's here for.
Yeah.
Surprising you went through all the effort to buy the 5-man squad, but he only has a Charm Shield. That's it. Because you could take like the Helm of Many Eyes to give him strikes first, for example. Interesting. Oh, and then we have 5 Skin Wolves. Okay, so maybe...
Love the Skin Wolves.
Yeah, and with Demonic Mount, you can join them if you want. Whereas regular horse you can't, so that's an interesting option. Especially,
To confirm, Warp Spawn does both for the Demons of Chaos Army and for the Demon Prince. If it's a magical attack, he will not get that regen save.
Okay,
Yep.
But I mean, you still get the other 2. All right, so then we have 5 Skin Wolves. Our wizard can join them. I bet what you're going to do is you're going to roll the spells, and if you get Oaken Shield, go join the Skin Wolves. Because Skin Wolves with ward saves, that's just wild, man.
I don't think you can join the Skin Wolf unit.
When you're on a demonic mount, you can.
Oh, the sorcerer can. Yes, the demon prince can't, but he can.
Well, he can't join anybody.
Yes. Yep. He's sad. Well, he's sad. He's a loner, right? But yeah, that's a great combo we've been seeing with the Exalted Sorcerer. A lot of people were specifically looking for combos with the Skin Wolves because they're such a good unit. It's very limited because of monstrous infantry and lumbering what could join them. But if you put your sorcerer on not a normal mount, but a demonic mount, hey, all of a sudden, that's the combo we're seeing. It doesn't have to be level 2; it could be level 3 or 4, right? But that's the combo we're seeing of how people are buffing up the Skin Wolves. In particular, one of the combos I've seen quite a bit is finding ways to not buff up their defense, but then also if you can find the combo to give the Skin Wolves fly. Right, I forget.
You got Seed of Shadows with Demonology right here, so yeah, you can fly them.
If you roll that spell, they Seed of Shadows. Holy crap! Moving the Skin Wolves behind the enemy is just terrifying.
Or if you're just 5 wide and you're 1 inch away from them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, really, really, really good combo. So we've definitely been seeing that a lot, and it's exciting to see. I'm pretty sure that he was using that combo here, or hoping to get that off.
Yeah, and then we have Dragon Ogres. So great.
Dragon Ogres.
Yeah, so we have 1 good unit of Skin Wolves. And it's the other thing about the Skin Wolves that's still weird is they still haven't clarified whether their shape change ability somehow just infects the character who joins the unit and they get to shape change too, which, I mean, I don't know exactly if you've even ruled on that yet, but that's something that...
Well, let's not take this whole video down with FAQs and rules as written versus rules as intent. We do plan to, in the future, to actually go through our Old World Legends FAQ and why we are ruling things one way or another. But that's another video for another time.
Alrighty. Anything else, Mike?
No, I think that's it. Once again, congratulations to, let's go through the list. Shane, first place. Well done, sir. Bretonnians crushing it. Second place, was it Andrew?
Andrew.
Andrew. Well done, sir. Second place with Wars of Chaos. And third place was, again, Adam with his Wolves of the Sea, which is exciting. So well done, everybody. And again, if you've gotten this far in the video, please do like, share, and subscribe. Please help us get the word out there. And then, Evan, any closing thoughts?
I think all these guys out there, all 3 of them, are going to stay legendary.
All right. We'll see you all next time. Bye.